She innocently said, "We'd be better off as just friends after a year of being like a couple." I just smiled. Sure, why not? A week later, her jaw dropped when she saw me out to dinner with her cousin, my hand on the designer bag she had dreamed about for years. I never thought I'd remember that afternoon so clearly. It was one of those dull afternoons after the rain, the kind that makes everything feel slower than usual. We were sitting at our usual spot in the coffee shop. Same table, same drinks. But the vibe felt off from the moment I walked in. Lily was staring at her cup, not at me. She played with her straw for a bit before finally saying it. "Ethan, I think we'd be better off as friends." Her voice was calm, almost too calm, like she'd practiced this in her head before. Not because I didn't expect it, but because she sounded so calm. Like this was something she'd already decided a long time ago. I just smiled. Not sarcastic, not cold. Just small. Yeah, sure. If that's what you want. She looked up, surprised. "You're okay with that?" "Yeah," I said, sipping my coffee. Why wouldn't I be? It didn't even hurt the way I thought it would. Maybe I'd seen it coming. She kept staring at me, waiting for some reaction, a question, a why, anything. But I didn't give her one. I just smiled, stood up and said, "Take care, Lily." And for the first time since we met, she didn't know what to say. The look on her face said it all. But sometimes silence is the loudest answer you can give. We weren't really official. That's how everyone described us. A thing. But not a thing. We weren't officially dating, but we acted like we were. She'd stay over some weekends, borrow my hoodies, use my Netflix, all the couple stuff minus the label. But if someone asked, "Are you two dating?" she'd smile and say, "We're just close." Labels ruin everything. At first I laughed it off. I told myself maybe she just needed time, or she'd had bad relationships before. But after a year of being almost, I started to realize that I was the only one waiting for it to turn into something real. And then came the bag. There was this designer tote, Tan Saint Laurent. Lily wanted it so bad. She'd point at it every time we passed the store. "God, that bag is gorgeous." Or she'd send me a link with a joke like, "Buy me this and I'll finally marry you." I'd laugh, she'd laugh, and then she'd say it again 2 weeks later. At first it was cute, but over time that bag kind of became a symbol, like if I ever gave it to her it'd mean I was serious. Truth is, I already was. I'd been thinking about our future, even if she pretended there wasn't one. So one day I decided to go for it. I spent weeks saving up, picked up extra hours at work, sold a few things I didn't really need. That bag wasn't cheap and over $2,000, but I wanted to do it right. I knew it didn't make sense to spend that much, but maybe it'd make her see I was serious, that I wasn't just some guy she texted when she was bored. So I figured if this didn't show her how much I cared, nothing would. I remember the day I bought it. The guy at the store wrapped it up nice, all perfect with tissue paper and the logo bag. I drove home feeling proud. I put it in my closet and told myself I'd wait for the right moment. Maybe her birthday, or maybe just a random good day. Something that'd make her smile and finally see me. But a week later, everything went quiet. She stopped texting as much. She was busy with work, too tired to hang out. I didn't want to push, but I could feel it slipping. Then, out of nowhere, she texted me, "Hey, can we talk?" It sounded serious. She wanted to meet at our usual coffee shop that Saturday. I remember standing in front of my closet, looking at that bag. I thought maybe this is it. Maybe she finally wants to talk about us. I almost grabbed the gift bag that day, even took it out of the closet, but something told me to leave it. Thank God I did. In my head I had it all planned out. If things went well, I'd tell her, "Before we talk, I have something for you." Maybe it'd turn into one of those moments people tell stories about later. He gave me the bag, and that's when I knew, yeah, that was the plan. But instead she said, "We'd be better off as friends." And just like that bag under the table went from something meaningful to something I couldn't even look at. I didn't even look at it when I left the cafe. I just grabbed it, walked out, and tried not to think about how stupid I'd been. That night I sat in my apartment, the bag still sitting by the door. It wasn't just a designer thing anymore. It was everything I'd been trying to give her, all wrapped in one useless gift, and I couldn't even look at it without feeling pathetic. So I decided to do something different. I wasn't going to throw it away. I wasn't going to return it. I'd give it to someone who might actually appreciate it. even if it had nothing to do with love. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I looked at that bag, I felt this weird mix of anger and embarrassment, like it was mocking me. I spent weeks working overtime, thinking I was buying something meaningful, something that would show her I was serious. And now it just sat there like a joke I didn't get. For a few days, I thought about giving it to her anyway, like maybe as a goodbye gift, something to show I wasn't bitter. But every time I imagined that scene, it looked pathetic. I'd hand it to her, she'd smile politely, maybe say, "You didn't have to," and that'd be it. No, I wasn't going to do that, so I kept the bag. Didn't open it. Didn't return it. Just left it there, untouched. Then, a week later, I ran into Emma, Lily's cousin, at a bookstore downtown. We'd met at a few of Lily's family events before, so it wasn't awkward. We just caught up, talked a bit, and dinner came up naturally. We'd met a couple of times before, during some family gatherings I'd been invited to, back when Lily still wanted me around. Emma was different. Easy to talk to. She asked about books, joked about coffee addiction, told funny stories about her job. We talked for maybe 20 minutes before she said, "You should let me buy you dinner for that book recommendation," she joked. It felt natural. So I said sure. That weekend we met up at a small Italian place near her office. She showed up wearing this simple white dress, nothing fancy, but she looked great. Dinner was easy. Conversation just flowed. And for the first time in a while I felt relaxed. At one point she said, "You're a lot quieter than I remember." I laughed. "Yeah, been kind of a weird few weeks." She didn't push, just smiled and changed the topic. Toward the end of the meal, I remembered the bag. It was still sitting in my closet, brand new, untouched. I don't know what came over me, but I suddenly thought, why not? Not as anything romantic, just something nice. That bag had been sitting in my closet for weeks, like a reminder of how stupid I'd been. When I saw how easy it was to talk to Emma, I thought maybe giving it away would help me move on. Nothing more. So I told her, "Hey, this might sound random, but I actually have something for you. Can I give it to you later?" She looked surprised, but said sure. The next day we met again. I handed her the bag. She froze. "Ethan, wait, is this real?" I laughed. "Yeah, just take it. Think of it as a thank you gift." She shook her head. "This is way too much," but I told her, "You know what? I bought it for someone who didn't really want anything real. You actually listen, so just take it." She hesitated, but eventually smiled and said softly, "Okay, thank you, really." And that moment, that smile, felt lighter than anything I'd felt in months. What I didn't expect was what happened next. So yeah, we were at that restaurant, me and Emma, just finishing dinner. It was one of those small places with warm lights and soft music. Nothing fancy, just comfortable. She was laughing at something I said about bad dates and spilled coffee. And honestly, for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could actually breathe. Then I saw her Lily. She walked in with a couple of her friends, laughing about something, and until she saw me. Her smile froze mid-sentence. I could see her friends glance at her, confused. At first she didn't see me. But then she turned her head and froze. Her eyes landed right on us. On me, sitting across from her cousin, both of us laughing. And then she noticed the bag. The same designer bag she'd spent months talking about. The same one she'd said, "Buy me this and I'll marry you." Now it was sitting next to Emma's chair. I saw her jaw tighten. She blinked a few times, like her brain was trying to process what it was seeing. Emma hadn't noticed yet. She was still smiling, totally unaware of the emotional bomb that had just gone off behind her. Then Lily started walking toward us. She stopped right at our table. Her voice came out low but sharp. "Ethan, Emma, what's going on here?" Emma turned totally confused. "Oh, hey Lily, I didn't know you were here." She smiled, innocent, the way someone does when they have no idea they're in the middle of something messy. "Ethan and I were just grabbing dinner," Emma said. "He got me this insane gift, by the way." She lifted the bag slightly. "And I was just saying how I didn't even deserve it." Lily's face went pale. You could literally see the color drain. Her lips parted, but she couldn't get any words out. She looked at me like she wanted to yell, but couldn't figure out what she was even allowed to say. Emma looked between us, totally lost. "Wait, do you two know each other?" I smiled, calm, almost too calm. "Yeah," I said. "Emma, this is Lily. She's your cousin, right?" "And Lily." I paused just long enough to make her feel it. "This is Emma." The silence that followed was brutal. Emma smiled politely, still clueless. "Oh, that's right, you've met Ethan before, right?" Lily nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on me, trying to read something that wasn't there. I just looked back, relaxed, almost casual. "Yeah, we've met," I said. "A while ago." That was it. And in that split second, everything flipped. Because for a whole year, Lily kept me in this grey area. And now, standing in front of her cousin holding the bag she once joked about, she realized how that must have felt. She wasn't angry. She was stunned. Like she'd just realized she'd lost something she never thought she'd lose. I didn't rub it in. Didn't say anything else. I just turned to Emma and said, "You ready to head out?" She nodded, still confused but smiling. We walked past Lily's frozen expression, and for the first time I didn't feel small anymore. I felt free. About 2 weeks after that dinner, I got a text from Lily. "Hey, can we talk?" I stared at my phone for a while. I didn't really owe her anything, but curiosity's a weird thing. So I said sure. We met at the same cafe, the same one where she'd ended things. When I walked in, it felt like déjà vu. Same table, same smell of coffee, same weird tension in the air. She looked nervous this time, not calm like before. After a few minutes of small talk, she finally said, "I saw you." "With Emma," I nodded. "Yeah, she told me she ran into you." She hesitated, eyes down. "Are you guys together?" I shrugged. "Not really. We're just hanging out." She went quiet again, like she was trying to find the right words. "You seem different," she said softly. "Happier." I smiled a little. "Yeah, I think I am." There was this long pause, and then she said something I didn't expect. "I think I made a mistake, Ethan. I thought I needed space, but seeing you with her, it made me realize I lost something real. A few months earlier, I probably would have killed to hear that. But now it didn't hit the same. I just looked at her and said, 'You didn't make a mistake, Lily. You just made a choice.' And so did I." She looked up at me, eyes glassy but holding back tears. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "I know," I said. "But you did. And that's okay. It happens." I finished my coffee, stood up, and grabbed my jacket. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say more, but I just smiled and said, "Take care of yourself, okay?" And I walked out. Later that week, I saw a post on Instagram. Lily had cut her hair short. New captions about fresh starts and loving yourself. Good for her, honestly. Meanwhile, Emma and I kept hanging out. It wasn't rushed and it wasn't complicated. We just got along, easy, simple, honest. Sometimes she'd joke, "You sure you're over your ex?" And I'd laugh and say, "Pretty sure I donated her dream bag already." She laughed every time. And that's when I realized something. Lily never really wanted love. She wanted attention. Emma? She just showed up. No expectations, no conditions. For the first time in a long time, I stopped waiting for someone to choose me and started choosing myself. And that's pretty much how it all went down. I didn't plan any of it. The breakup, the silence, or the way life quietly put the pieces back together again. But somehow it all made sense in the end. If you've ever been in that spot, where someone walks away and you don't even have the energy to chase, I get it. Sometimes you stop needing answers, you just start wanting quiet. Thanks for listening to my story. I'd love to hear what you'd have done in my place. Drop your thoughts below. And if you like stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.